Meeting, Madam Clerk.
Board Member Keys. Board Member Galvin.
Here.
Board Member Estimate Irvin.
Present.
Board Member Desome.
Here.
Chairman Baname.
Here.
Chairman, you have a quorum to proceed.
Thank you very much. Please rise for the Pledge of Allegiance.
To the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Thank you very much. Can I hear a motion on the minutes for February 11, 2020?
So moved.
You don't have a
Second.
binder?
I do, it's probably in my office.
Oh, okay. And
I have a motion made by Board Member Galvin to approve the February 11, 2020 minutes. The motion was seconded by Board Member Estimate Irvin. All in favor?
Aye.
All opposed? Item passes with a 4-0 vote.
agenda item number 1.
2018 to 2019 Annual Audit Presentation, Agenda Item Number 1.
Good evening.
Chairman, for the record, Board Member Keys is present as of 5:32.
Thank you very much. Presentation of
Good
the annual
evening, Chair and Board. Before you is the CRA's independent auditor from HCT. They have audited us for about over 5 years, and they are here to do the PowerPoint presentation and also explain the financial statements to you.
Good afternoon, Mayor, Council. My name is Roderick Harvey, partner with HCT, and we are the auditors of record for the North Miami CRA. I also have with us several of our partners who worked, or constituents, workers. And so at this time, we'll bring Mr. Kemar Scott, who acted as the on-site senior auditor.
Hello, good afternoon, ladies and gentlemen. I am Kemar Scott, Senior Auditor at HCT. I would like to now start the presentation. To the Board and Commissioner of North Miami CRA, we are pleased to have the opportunity to meet with you today to discuss the result of our audit of the financial statement of North Miami CRA. As of and for the years in September 30, 2019. Our audit was conducted in accordance with the terms established in the audit engagement letter dated October 25th, 2019. We have provided document in advance of our meeting to enable you to consider our findings and hence, sorry. We apologize for the delay. Okay. Let's continue. Sorry about that, ladies and gentlemen. Our audit is complete and we issue an unmodified or clean report opinion on the North Miami Community Redevelopment Agency financial statements on January 15, 2020. Our audit result requires communication and other matters summary. Supplementary slides require communication and other matters and our responsibilities. The scope of our audit. Our audit of the financial statement of North Miami Community Redevelopment Agency as of the end for the year ended September 30 was performed in accordance with auditing standards generally in the United States of America and the standards applicable to financial audits contained in the government auditing standard issued by General of the United States. Changes to our planned risk assessment and plan audit strategy. There were no changes to our audit plan, risk assessment, and plan audit strategy. Auditor's report. We have issued an unmodified auditor's report. We have issued an unmodified opinion on the financial statement of the agency and other reports as follows. independent auditor's report, complete independent auditor's report on internal control over financial report and compliance and other matters based on audit of the financial statements performed in accordance with the government auditing standards. Management letter in accordance with the result of the Auditor General of the state of Florida. Other deliverables. Letter to those charged with governance. Other matters, none was noted. Significant accounting policies. Significant accounting policies and practice are detailed in Note 1 of the financial statements. Audit results continue. Significant accounting estimates. No new accounting policies were adopted and the application of existing policies were not changed during the year. Significant risks and other significant audit matters. Significant risk and other significant audit matters relate to management, override of control, relevant for all entities. Revenue recognition, relevant for all entities. No new accounting pronunciations. None applicable for the year 2019. I will now pass over to my senior manager in charge for him to proceed with the presentation. Thanks.
Good evening. My name is James Patton. As he mentioned, I was the senior manager on the audit of the CRA. I'd like to go over a couple more audit results and required communications with you guys at this time. Uncorrected misstatements, we had none to report. No corrected misstatements. No financial presentation, disclosure, omissions. Basically, that's saying that everything was fine and we did not note any problems. Same thing here, control deficiencies. We found no material weaknesses, related parties, but there was no significant findings in that regard. Other information and documents containing audited financial statements. This is basically just our responsibility with respect to the information in the document does not extend beyond the financial information. This slide includes some other things where most of it was no matters to report, or actually all of it was no matters to report, but we did review that we did not find any illegal acts or fraud, any non-compliances with laws or regulations. There was no growing concern with operations. Everything was in accordance with GAAP. There are no significant subsequent events to report or other findings or issues. We did not encounter any significant difficulties during the audit. We had no disagreements with management, no significant findings. Management's consultation with other accountants, we had none. Material written communications was the engagement letter and management representation letter, which are both standard and were issued. Independence. As of and through today, to the best of our knowledge and our professional judgment, we are independent from the agency, which means we are free to do the audit in accordance with professional standards. At this time, I would like to pass it off to the managing partner, Mr. Harvey.
Again, good afternoon, everyone. We will now delve into some of the financial elements of the financial statements for, again, North Miami CRA. We ask you to roll back to September 30 of 2019. This highlight, or this section, will talk about financial reporting, expenses, related party, and revenue. As relates to financial reporting for, again, North Miami CRA, we obtained an understanding of the financial reporting process. We performed our audit in accordance with GAAS to make sure that the CRA was operating in accordance with GAAP. Expenses totaled $5 million for the fiscal year ended 2019, as compared to $3.6 million for the same period in 2018, an increase of $1.3 million, primarily due to more or increase in development projects. $1.3 million in general government expenses in 2019 as compared to 1.2 in 2018. So you can see that is relatively flat. 3.7 million in community development expenses versus 2.4 in 2018. We sampled a section of those transactions. We tested for completeness, accuracy, and the presentation of expenses. As relates to related party, as of September 30, 2019, there was a $8,000 amount due to the city. We confirmed that amount by a related party as we received the confirmation back. For revenue, $4 million for the period ended 2019, as compared to $3.3 million for the period 2018, an increase of approximately $700,000, which was due to an increase in TIF. We tested those revenue transactions, again, for assertions of existence, accuracy, and the presentation of recorded revenue. Want to discuss with you, and this is required by the AICPA and those folks in New York, is to talk about the responsibilities of us as the auditor, and ultimately we will talk about some responsibility or show for the board. Our responsibility is to audit and express an opinion. Our audit also includes the internal control environment. We do not express an opinion on the effectiveness of internal controls, and our testing of internal controls is not designed to find fraud. We have also defined for you, and earlier Mr. Patton explained that there were no what we call management letter findings, but this slide breaks down the level of findings, if there were any, and there were not, for North Miami for 2019. But this slide talks about the deficiencies, significant deficiencies, and what a material weakness is. Again, North Miami CRA did not have any. Management's responsibility. Management has several responsibilities, which includes the design, implementation, and maintenance of internal controls. Management responsibility also includes providing access to information to the auditor, giving us unrestricted access to persons in the entity, and then also oversight of the financial reporting process and the establishment of management programs and controls designed to prevent, deter, and detect fraud. Again, this slide talks more about our objectives as the auditor, which is to form and issue, express an opinion, and of course to perform our steps as an auditor in accordance with United States GAAS, Generally Accepted Auditing Standards. Again, our goal is to serve you as the auditors, and at this time, if the board chair so allows, we will entertain any questions that you may have of us.
Thank you very much. And we're going to start with Councilwoman Keys. For questions.
I'm assuming the answer is no, but I'd like to ask it. So you're just looking at our books and records and you're doing a financial analysis. You're not doing any type of looking at whether expenditures are appropriate for the CRA. You don't make.
That's Yes, we do look at expenditures for the CRA only. We look at.
I mean, whether they're allowable under CRA state guidelines.
We do test compliance with laws and regs. We do not necessarily go by every expenditure to see if it meets. We test a sample of transactions, and with that sample testing, we look at existence, accuracy, and the completeness of it.
Right, but not whether it's an appropriate expenditure of a CRA.
According to how it's spent under the budget and according to a contract, if it has it, we do. Mm-hmm. But we don't match that to a law necessarily for each expenditure or an ordinance.
Would you like me to just sort of comment? Because
Sure.
It sort of seems like there's two separate statements being made. Their audit is essentially, and correct me if I'm wrong,
Yes,
money in, money out, to make sure that, you know, it's basically being spent in accordance with our budget. And no, the auditors do not look at Chapter 163,
Right.
Section 370, to make sure that the money is being spent on a redevelopment activity that's permitted by state law. That is my job and your executive director's job to make sure we're spending the money correctly in accordance with law.
So you're doing that?
Of course I am,
Okay,
for 15 years.
thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you very much, Councilman Galvin. No question, Vice Mayor.
The only thing you
Yes, ma'am.
mentioned, $8,000 that was owed to the city. Can you tell me what that $8,000 was for?
I believe it mentioned there that it was for an expense reimbursement. I'm not sure specifically what the item
Okay.
was, but it was just for shared expenses.
Okay, that's all.
Reimbursing.
That's all. Thank you.
And
Thank
Mr. Chair, I wanted to acknowledge the staff. I know Mr. Harvey talks about what the CRA has done, but the staff behind the CRA is in
Yes.
the audience, the Budget Department, the Finance Department, and also Ms. Preston Johnson from Public Works. They are the ones that make sure that we have a proper segregation of duties. Items are being approved properly, and they're going through the system. So I'd like to thank them as well
Yes,
for a clean report.
we concur.
Thank you very much. And thank you. I don't
Thank
have
you
any
for allowing
question.
us to serve. Thank you.
Thank you very much.
Yes.
Agenda item number 2.
Agenda item 2, A New Smile, 12535 West Dixie Highway Business Attraction Grant. Agenda item 2.
Before you is a request for a business attraction grant from a New Smile Dentist Clinic. They acquired the property 12535 West Dixie Highway, which is the former My Dreams Bridal on West Dixie. It was the white and blue building. You can see a previous picture on page 17 of your package. They intend to completely renovate it and turn it into a full-service dental office with 10 new surgery office rooms. They intend to hire 20 full-time employees. The total cost of the project is $1.5 million, with $971,000 being the cost of the construction and $607,400 the cost of the equipment that they will be acquiring to put in to the facility. The applicant agrees to hire 5 to 6 employees in the first 6 months and hire eventually a total of 20 full-time employees. Out of those, 10 of those positions will be for North Miami residents. Positions include hygienists, assistants, doctors, and clerks. Their request is for $250,000. As you recall, our business attraction grant is up to $150,000. So for them to ask for $250,000, they needed to proffer job opportunities for North Miami residents, which they have done. Mr. Nahan is in the audience if you'd like to ask him a few more questions. And if you look at page 18, you can see the proposed new design that they will be working on. Staff supports this item as it's part of redeveloping that business corridor and the fact that it would be generating new job opportunities for our residents. We strongly encourage approval.
You said relocation. You didn't say where they were before.
No, they're not relocating. It's a business attraction grant. They currently have a clinic in Kendall. This is going to be their an additional clinic. So
Okay.
it's more of they're expanding their business, but
Okay,
moving
say
here.
new business coming
Yeah.
to the city.
Mhm.
Okay. I thought there was
I
somewhere
misspoke,
else
sorry.
in the city.
No,
Okay.
no.
Okay.
But you can ask Mr. Nahan. He's in the audience, like I said.
No, I see.
okay.
That's fair enough. Do you have any question? No?
Ye-
No?
Yes,
Yes.
I do actually. In reference to the jobs, who will track the applicants or that they are being hired from North Miami or?
We do. The CRA staff does that the same way we do it for CHC and all our previous applicants. Every 6 months, we do a site visit and we check payroll records and we make sure that they actually have 06 on the address for the property taxes. It's not just based on the address thinking it's
Mhm.
North Miami. But we do that every 6 months for the total of 5 years. So the applicant's aware that we will be coming every 6 months for 5 years as part of the agreement.
Okay, when we meet, I know we didn't get a chance to meet today or whenever the meeting was. Can you provide me a list of the folks that we had in the past?
Sure.
And you know, that whatever method that you have. All right.
Yes.
Thank you.
You're welcome, sir.
So just for my clarification, let's just say that we provide a general question, not necessarily, Tammy, if we provide a grant, with these requirements that they get extra funding because they're going to hire North Miami resident, and they're not keeping up with that, what is done?
What we have done in the past is our
Okay.
attorney sends them a warning letter, and the full amount is due if they
Okay.
don't meet the probation period of satisfying our needs.
What full amount? The difference that they would,
$250,000
the entire
grant.
amount
Yes,
would be in
yes.
jeopardy?
Yeah.
Okay. I
We
just
don't
want-
prorate it or anything like
Okay.
that.
Thank you.
A question, what about if the specialty they're looking for, they put it out and they can't find people from the city? What happened?
Well, generally,
show
they
that
have to
they-
come back to us, and we have to bring it back for discussion, and to find a resolution to the matter. But that's why I wanted Mr. Nahon to speak, because last night at the advisory committee, he stressed upon the fact that he actually would rather have all of his employees from North Miami, because it's easier in
Awesome.
terms of transportation, and accessibility to have for his business. So wherever he opens a business, he always tries to make sure that he recruits from within that area, because it's better for his business. So that's why I wanted him to.
So I have a question. Oh, actually, may I ask you a question, please? If I may, Mr. Chair?
Good evening. Good evening. My name is Isaac Nahon.
Your address for the record as well. Your address for the record?
My address is live in Miami, Kendall,
Your full address, I'm sorry, your full mailing address.
my full mail address would
Yeah.
be 12420 Southwest 84th Street, Miami, Florida.
It's just procedure. So thank you so much for bringing your business into North Miami. Just want to ask, when do you intend on opening up? Do you know how soon?
We already have the permits approved by the city.
Okay.
We already paid our impact fees, and we are. I think within the next 2 months we're going to start the demolition and starting the project.
So you anticipate 6 months,
No,
less?
anticipate 6 months, but if I have,
9 months.
Okay.
it will be like 8 months until we open. 8 months to a year before we fully open and fully staff.
So our executive director mentioned that you're interested in hiring most of the employees here in North Miami. Is that correct?
Correct.
So would you be open to having a job fair here in our city to meet that?
Definitely.
Okay.
If there is a place that we can expose our business and recruit people, that will be perfectly okay. And if there is, of course, if I can get any help from you guys, it will be great.
Yeah, we had
So-
previously discussed me linking them to the job centers in the area, Career Source,
Okay.
Santla, and so on.
Okay. Could the CRA do one? Could we?
We are
Do-
the mayor's gonna conduct his annual job fair, which is what we do every year.
When is that?
It's gonna be in May.
Oh.
Thank
Okay.
you.
Thank you.
Thank you, sir.
She wants you to answer.
I'm sorry, ma'am. Yes, we will make sure that we do some kind of job fair opportunity and coincide it with the mayor. There are as you recall, there are other projects that we've already funded that have job requirements.
Yeah.
So we are going to have to, as soon as the point is, as soon as they're done with their permitting and so on, that's when we want to start doing the job fairs.
Because this is dentistry, so would you
Mhm.
reach out to the colleges?
Yep.
Yeah.
Yeah. And making sure that, we have
Yeah, they
62,000 residents, I think we can find
We
some
have so
dental
many
hygienists.
There is other companies looking for, that's when they're gonna have the annual job fair. So we don't have to have 5 in the city. We can have 1 for the entire city. Yes. Can I have a motion? And let's open it to the public since we're gonna vote on it. Public hearing is open on agenda item number 2. Agenda item number 2 is open to the public, is now closed. Can I have a motion on it?
So moved.
Second.
I have a motion made by Board Member Galvin to approve Agenda Item 2. The motion was seconded by Board Member Keys. All in favor?
Aye.
All opposed? Item passes with a 5-0 vote. Agenda Item 3, Resolution to approve the amended and restated bylaws of the North Miami CRA. A resolution of the chairman and board members of the North Miami Community Redevelopment Agency approving and adopting the amended and restated bylaws of the North Miami Community Redevelopment Agency and providing for an effective date.
North Miami CRA. The original bylaws were approved in November of 2005. Since then, they are outdated and they needed to be updated to reflect the changes in our two last amended interlocal agreements with Miami-Dade County, the recent state legislation, and some operational processes. Some notable changes, I've mentioned them in the memo. For instance, certain processes in the previous bylaws, the CRA would handle their own personnel policies and procurement and so on and so forth. But as per state statute now, our procurement has to follow the cities, and also with the interlocal agreement that we have with the city of North Miami, we follow the personnel policies and so on. So we're streamlining our bylaws to reflect the actual way that we are running this business. The other item is purchasing of goods and services. Originally, it was at $25,000. I think I had mentioned to the mayor that Hallandale Beach CRA, we had used their revised bylaws as a sample to $50,000 for purchasing of goods and services. Additionally, execution of instruments. On the city side, for agreements, it's the city manager, the attorney, and the city clerk that sign the agreements. The mayor would sign the resolutions. On the CRA side, it is the mayor, the executive director, the attorney, and the clerk. So it's a little bit cumbersome. So again, we're trying to streamline the agreement process to make it similar to the cities for faster processing. The mayor will still sign the resolutions, and his signature will still be on the CRA checks. Mr. Attorney, if you have any other additional
I
items?
just want to sort of reiterate what the interim executive director has said, that, you know, we're at a point where we're moving forward. It's time to update and basically amend our bylaws to bring them more current. And, you know, for me, as the one who drafts many agreements, the big thing is having both the chair and the executive director sign. It's really unnecessary. You have your city manager signing all your documents. You'll have your executive director signing all your documents. Addressing the issue that was raised last time about the city clerk serving as the CRA secretary. And I noticed in our resolutions tonight, it still says city clerk. You know, we're moving forward, and this is in conjunction with the next item, which you're going to hear momentarily, to bring the bylaws current to more of what we would call market conditions for CRAs. If there's any questions, I'm happy to answer them.
Thank you very much. Let's open it to the public. Then we'll come on the dais. Public hearing is open on agenda item number 3. Public hearing is now closed.
Okay.
Council-
Thank you. First, I would have liked to have seen these bylaws black lines, so I know exactly, so didn't have a whole lot of time, so I know we got 3 items. I appreciate pointing out 3 changes, but I would have liked to have seen a black line. That being said, Rosh, you mentioned through the mayor, director, excuse me, that the purchasing, is the purchasing going to be done by the purchasing department, or?
Yes.
Because it doesn't really say that in the bylaws. I mean, I don't, or point out to me
says it.
where, because it just says.
State law requires it. Okay, so that's why perhaps it may not be in the bylaws, but there's a statute that requires community redevelopment agencies to follow the procurement policies of the municipality or the county, which is their governing body. And you'll see in the next item, which is the interlocal agreement between the city and the CRA, that the CRA utilizes the city's procurement department.
I saw that in the interlocal, but I didn't see it in the bylaws, so
Okay.
it's just,
But the state law covers it.
so we have to do bidding and everything else.
Correct.
Okay, okay, thank you.
And we do.
Can I
And the
mention-
CRA pay the,
It is under policies and procedures,
Okay.
the second.
2.10, let's take a look at that for 1
The North Miami CRA adopts the
second.
city procurement, finance, and human resources policies and procedures as such may be amended from time to time and as required by applicable law. It's the second
So
sentence.
secondly, I will say I'm very opposed to increasing our purchasing power by the director without board approval from 25,000 to 50,000. In
you
the
don't have
past,
to oppose, just make an amendment. And
Well, I'm,
Come- yeah.
okay, then I would make an amendment that we do not make that one change. I think that's too much. Other than that, really, there's not any other changes.
Okay.
Send it back to 25.
Councilman.
Nobody's
Scott?
seconding my
We have a
amendment.
motion.
We're gonna second that.
Well,
We just
you
wanna
told me to
hear
make
from.
an amendment, so I made a motion.
You're gonna make it, it's fine. We try to see if we
I
have
see.
more than one
That's
amendment.
what I was just talking and saying my opinion. Yeah, I just think, we just, I went back and looked at a lot of checks written in the past couple months. There were some really high amounts, more than 50,000, that we have not approved or didn't know about. So I think keeping a cap on 25, we should be able to keep that. Thank you.
That's the
Okay, we
CRA.
second,
Yes.
I second your motion
Thank
for
you.
discussion. And then Scott, you have no questions?
Um,
Vice Mayor.
Yes, in reference to those checks, because I did look in the, well, part of the registry, but most of them, they were not, that's the confusing part regarding this Red Garden item, because was your check, the CRA check, that the previous director wrote under the CRA, or were they direct CRA checks?
Well, I guess
I know
would
you
need to
wasn't
know
the
what
director.
specifically which,
Yeah.
the councilwoman is referring to, but as you recall, when you had approved the $500,000,
yes,
you had
yes,
waived the bidding.
That much.
And you had waived, and at one point, if I'm not mistaken, you had asked Mr. Sori which would be the highest expense, and you had said the tents would be at 100,000 or
That's what I'm
something.
saying. So those
So-
were the Red Garden
Yes,
associated,
yes,
not,
yes.
okay, that's what I wanted
Anything
to
else other
clarify.
than that, I'd have to ask the councilwoman to.
And at that time, you were
Provide
not
us.
the executive director.
No, I
The-
wasn't, but I
The
mean,
executive director signed that,
Yeah, it was.
unless there's specifics.
It was, well, I just, I didn't have that much time to look at it. If we approved the tents for 100, there was a lot of consulting contracts. We paid one consultant $50,000 for outreach. So I don't know if that was part of it.
it was all of those were within the resolution that you
resolution.
passed, and that Mr. Sori, and former executive director, Mr. Spring, used to, repair and have the site ready. And the community outreach was extremely necessary as we were about to start, all these events and trying to make sure that the neighborhood, the residents were aware of what was gonna happen.
Did you think we
So-
got 50,000? I mean, that's not really part of this service. This is
Yeah.
bylaws, but
Yeah.
that, I just saw a lot of expenses, specifically for Red Garden that were high. I don't think.
Okay, that's when the 50,000 was from
But
the
I'm gonna-
Red Garden.
Yeah.
I mean, I'd like to
Okay.
have a little discussion of Red Garden after we're done, just for my
At your leisure.
reports, but,
Okay.
that's why I'm like to keep things at 25. That's a
Okay.
big number.
If I understand, the cap right now is 25, right?
Yes, sir.
That's mean anything over was part of
We
that $500,000
Yes, sir.
for the Red Garden.
Yes, sir.
Thank you. Vice Mayor,
Yes.
yes.
I would love to, this is echoed to my ear, the Red Garden conversation. But no, I don't have any particular issue to that. But just clarification again. So the $500,000 that was supposed to be for the cleanup of the Red Garden that we approve here through the CRA, but there was some other expense that had not, I guess it was the city, so it's a whole,
So the CRA, Mr. Attorney, the CRA paid for the cleanup, the setup, the drainage, sewer, permanent
Got it.
electricity, the fence, everything to prepare, as you recall, the site.
The
To
site,
make it an open air space, a space for entertainment. And the phase 2 of it would be the food truck incubator program. At that time, Super Bowl was right there, and there were all these other events happening. But those events were not by the CRA, nor was it approved by the CRA board to fund. So
Okay.
only thing we funded were the actual renovations and the things related to getting this property ready. We also have a website talking about the Red Garden and informing the public that the renovations that they saw was happening.
Okay. Councilman estimate,
No comment.
the questions?
No question, no comment.
Okay, we all set?
Motion to approve as amended.
Second.
I have a motion made by Board Member Keys to approve Agenda Item 3 as amended. The motion was seconded by Board Member Galvin. All in favor?
Aye.
All opposed? Item passes with a 4-0 vote. Agenda Item 4, Resolution to approve fiscal year 2019-2020 interlocal services agreement between the North Miami CRA and the City of North Miami. A resolution of the chairman and board members of the North Miami Community Redevelopment Agency approving the interlocal service agreement between the City of North Miami and the North Miami Community Redevelopment Agency relating to the provision of indirect services by the city to the North Miami CRA for fiscal year 2019 to 2020. Authorizing the executive director to execute the interlocal service agreement, authorizing the executive director to take all steps necessary and appropriate to implement the terms and conditions of the interlocal service agreement, and providing an effective date. Agenda Item 4.
Again, for your review is the fiscal year 1920 interlocal services agreement between both agencies for indirect services. The CRA shall pay the City of North Miami $358,383 for indirect services provided for this fiscal year. As you recall, that item is in the approved fiscal year budget. It is 3% of our budget as allowed by the Miami-Dade County Interlocal Agreement. The services are outlined in the agreement, include but are not limited to human resources, procurement, finance, budget, services from Public Works, the space that we are being provided for tenancy, services from CPND as it relates to helping us with certificate of uses, with our grantees, and so on and so forth. This agreement will be renewed annually as fees and services may change. So at every year, October 1st, once the budget's approved in September, we will bring to you an interlocal agreement that outlines the services that the city's providing us, and we will identify the total amount. And this is a perfect example. What the previous auditor was talking about, there was an $8,000 balance. That's because before we were doing not only stipends, but we were doing reimbursements periodically. Now it's a flat fee. We pay the city this fee for the year, and we are done, and the city will manage those funds on their side to provide us those services. So if you have any questions, also our attorney's here.
Again,
And have it, yes.
I'm sorry, Mr. Chairman, this is another item where we want to be more specific and delineate the services that the CRA is paying over $350,000 a year for from the city. Basically, there are administrative arm, procurement, finance, Public Works, all the things that the city does for the CRA. These are what we call indirect services because they're being provided by city staff. There's also things that in the future may be direct services, like if we're hiring the police department to provide community policing and the like. So this is something you'll see every year on the agenda, most likely in September as opposed to March.
Thank you very much. And we have our budget director here. And Ms. Wilson, can you provide us with a report on how we're going to spend the $358,000 based on the budget that was passed, please?
Which item are we on?
We're talking about the item
Number 4.
4.
Oh, 4, we're still on for interlocal.
Yeah. Not now. I'm talking about just, yes, go ahead. Yeah.
You're talking about the 358,000?
Yes.
Yes, we'll provide it.
Yes, and understand also that we make change in the CRA. Now, since we have an executive director, that's been from that $358,000, you know, we don't pay city managers and deputy city managers from that money. If we can get a breakdown, that is saving, right?
We'll provide a report.
No, but that's a saving. That money need to be take off the payroll of because it was $20,000 for the executive director
We would
and
have
$20,000 for the director.
No,
There's $45,000 in saving.
I understand.
Okay.
So we'll provide you with a report.
Yeah, but at the same time, you have to adjust the expenditure too, right? On the city side.
Yes, that's part.
Okay.
Can we just provide you with the report?
No, no, it's two things. There is the report and there is the change that's need to be made.
I understand.
Okay.
So you're saying that whatever amounts that were included in there, they need to be reduced?
No, not reduce the amount that,
She's talking
in
about
the budget,
distribution.
in the
Yeah.
350, in the distribution, 25,000 was for the deputy city manager and 20,000 for the city manager, because they were acting as executive director for the CRA. But last month we changed that,
Correct.
and now we have an executive director, and we don't need the stipend for those two
Right, but-
departments.
But I don't know if you recall, but we changed the method by which we allocated the dollars. So that's why I said we would provide you with the report, because we didn't consider, starting with this fiscal year, it was just a lump sum amount that was provided. So,
That's been, I understand that, but the 358,000 reflect that $45,000.
not as of this year, no.
It was for last year?
This year, what happened is that certain amounts, instead of using it as a stipend, those amounts.
Was add to the salary.
Correct.
That's when you gotta take those out.
May I ask a question?
I'm not
saying
done. I'm
next
gonna,
year,
you're
right?
gonna talk whatever you want, Councilwoman. You gonna, even though you wanna talk for an hour, you will be able to
No,
do so.
sir, I'm trying to get, I see where you're getting, and I don't think she's understanding, that's why I
She,
wanted to say.
she,
I understand.
no, whatever they did, before they used to
Sure.
give a stipends, a
Yes.
special stipends. Now they add it to the salary. That means you need to take that in consideration to remove it from the salary.
I understand.
Okay.
And we'll provide you with the report.
Not the report, the amendment of, in the paycheck.
Well,
May I ask a
so which is it? Because you said that you wanted a report.
Okay, then
All right.
we will decide what to do with the
Okay.
report.
I have a
Thank you
question
very
for
much.
you, please.
Yes.
Okay. You keep saying that you're going to report it, so here's my question. How were the funds allocated? Was it one lump sum, or was it allocated weekly? The 20,000 that the city manager had?
Prior to this fiscal year, the funds were included as stipends in certain employees' salaries. There was an additional amount added to their salaries.
And how was that additional amount added? Was it divided over the weeks that we have? Was it given
It was
in
an
one
annual
lump sum?
amount.
So
Annual.
it was given in one lump sum, is that
No,
what you're saying?
No, it's an annual amount that was
Okay, okay.
given
I
out in
just-
26 pay, given out in 52 pay
Right,
periods.
52,
Yeah.
okay.
Right. Mm-hmm.
That's what I just want to make sure. Okay.
Whatever there was, they got paid until February, it's fine, but after that, you have to cut it.
So based on the chair's request, would you say that that would be a saving? I think that's the question that was being asked. So if those fundings are no longer going to be allocated, that would be a savings, correct?
What I'm saying is that we treated it differently beginning in the fiscal year, so we have to look at the services based on, we're looking at how the services are provided through all of the different departments. And I mean, I don't think that that's personally, and not personally, but as the budget director, I don't believe that $358,000 is a lot of money for the services that we provide to the CRA.
No, that's not what we are discussing. We're not talking about the amount of money.
And I understand what you're saying. You're saying regarding the stipends. I understand that, but.
I'm gonna give you another issue when it comes to the stipends. Let's say you have a budget director and an assistant, right? The director get the money and he's sick for 4 months. The assistant had to do the job with nothing in return by doing the CRA's job. That's why it should go back to the stipends versus the salary. When we have the report, then we will decide on that.
Okay,
Okay.
thank you.
Councilman, Vice Mayor.
No, I don't know. What we talking about? So I'm lost. I'm kind of lost.
No, the CRA have to pay the city $358,000 for service.
For their services.
Yes.
This fiscal year.
Oh, you already said, but that, just real quick, you don't have to come up, Ms. Morgan, but those funds were already allocated from the previous fiscal year, so that's gonna start, I guess, in October. Are you trying to get a refund between now and October? or-
No, not the refund.
Oh, okay.
No, between October and February, it's passed because they provide the service. But now, the two,
So you're trying to get I don't think it's, yeah.
for the remaining,
So next year, I guess, moving forward would be kind of clean, yeah. If you end up with, if they say you have $20,000 or 10,000.
that's mean next year we gotta go back to the stipends, it's better. That's mean the people who do the job is the one who get paid. I think it will be better like that. Councilwoman Keys?
No, just a question, because it was back and forth. So we are no longer paying, our manager, I thought it was $20,000 a year. Was that $20,000 included in the lump sum figure from last year also?
It's not a lump sum.
Well, the 358 we're talking about now is the amount we're agreeing to pay the city for services.
Correct.
Had the manager been still the director, would that have included the 20,000? Would that have been part of the 358, or is it
They
paid?
did something intelligent. Instead of getting the stipends, that they get a pay check increase every week.
No, that's what I'm talking, so the 358, would that have included the stipend? Or is that a separate fee or cost in the CRA's budget, director?
The-
Do we put the,
Director, yes.
I mean, you can't, yeah, because does our CRA budget have a separate line item for paying the director?
No,
Or
it does
executive
not.
director?
No,
We didn't have that,
no.
so it is part of
No.
that, would have
They
been part
put
of
it in the
358.
budget,
Okay,
in
thank
the
you.
salary, budget, in the
Okay.
salary of those employees.
Thank you.
Councilman, no questions?
Motion to approve?
Did we open public hearing? Public hearing is open again. Public hearing is now closed.
Motion to approve?
Second.
I have a motion made by Board Member Keys to approve Agenda Item 4. The motion was seconded by Chairman Bien-Aimé. All in favor?
Aye.
All opposed? Item passes with a 5-0 vote. Agenda Item 5, resolution to approve appointing Lasha Kamu as the Executive Director.
Yes.
A resolution of the Chairman and Board members of the North Miami Community Redevelopment Agency appointing Lasha Kamu as the Executive Director of the North Miami Community Redevelopment Agency. Approving the employment agreement between Rasha Kamu and the North Miami Community Redevelopment Agency, authorizing the Executive Director to execute the employment agreement, authorizing the Executive Director to take all steps necessary and appropriate to implement the terms and conditions of the employment agreement, and providing for an effective date. Agenda Item 5.
Mr. Attorney?
Thank you, Mr. Vice Chair. So as a follow-up to the last meeting where Ms. Camo was appointed the interim executive director of the North Miami CRA, at this point, staff was directed to bring back an employment agreement and appoint Ms. Camo to the permanent position. The agreement that's before you is basically the same agreement that was used for your city manager, was used for your city manager before that, was used for your city attorney before that, and I think goes all the way back to Ms. Whitfield and Mr. Johnson, and that I was probably the original drafter of those documents because I was engaged by the city to prepare those documents. What I will say, though, is what we would call the price points in this agreement are significantly lower than the prior executive director agreement that was in place when you had a separate executive director. If you remember when Mr. Krapp was your executive director, his compensation was well over $200,000. The compensation, my understanding is Ms. Camo's current base salary plus the $20,000 stipend that the manager was, or whatever you want to call it, salary enhancement that the manager was getting from the CRA The other highlights, which are in here in the form of, well, first of all, the term is for 2 years. It's a 2-year agreement. And then, of course, you can extend the term for another year, or as long as you want at that point. Termination is the same as the city manager, except it's not in accordance with the code. There's a provisions in your code of how it has to be done. But there's a 90-day written notice. The severance is your standard under Florida law. The base salary, as I mentioned, is the $165,000 plus an annual cost of living increase. Retirement plan is 15% of the base salary. The automobile and communication equipment allowance is significantly less than your city manager's contract. This one is $350 a month. I think the city manager was $750 a month, and the cell phone was $500 a month, or $300, and this one's $200. Health, dental, life insurance is basically the standard. It's all the same. The only thing that is different from the way the paid time off is calculated, the PTO time, is it's 3 hours for each work week, up to 750 hours. The rest of it is fairly standard: due subscriptions, professional development, for example, the recent trip to the public-private partnership conference in Dallas. That's the general terms of the agreement. And under the bylaws, this board has the, whether it was the prior ones or the ones you just adopted, the ability to appoint the executive director of the CRA. If you have any questions, I'm happy to answer them. Thank you.
You'd like, Mr. Yes, Mr. Manager. Is this item open to the public, or this is just discussion?
Yes.
Yes, it's a resolution.
Open
Quick,
to the public.
first question, and then, well, first, I don't know if, okay. Based on the salary, you said hers is lower than the previous one. Where are we, how low? And the next question is the increase in, hold on, I think the line item was the 750 hours of PT, the sick,
Correct.
the annual, the leave, the sick
Yes,
leave and the
sick
annual.
leave of 750 hours.
So first question was, what's the discrepancy in the pay in the car and in the, was that a little bit overboard,
Well,
what we were paying?
So
or?
if you recall, the last time we had a separate executive director was Mr. Prudent. And
No,
before
he
that-
never been executive
No.
Oh,
director.
no, he was not
CRA
executive. I'm
coordinator.
sorry, he was the coordinator. Was Mr. Krapp. His
Yes.
salary was $215,000, as I recall, and that was back in perhaps 2009 or 2010. As I mentioned, the salary that's in here, and I didn't decide what the salary should be, of course. This is basically Ms. Chemo's current salary plus the $20,000 a year that the CRA was paying to the manager as the salary increase. So it's not a salary that we determined or anyone determined to be, okay, this is what an executive director of a CRA should be paid. Because if you went out there and you did a survey with the FRA, you'll probably find it's probably a lot more than this.
Well, and that's my point, and especially we are in Women Month. I don't want to be where
Thank
we
you for
are
recognizing that.
underpaying. I'm glad you explained the methodology behind the payment. If that's acceptable to the board, that's fine. I'm not saying, but I think the once you take away the 20 that the former executive director was getting, that's adding his city manager duties, and then you add the additional 20. However, you brought a point, if we were to go out to look, what would be the range of a city manager, the executive director of a CRA? Is it between, is it something that we?
It would have to depend on the size of the
The
CRA.
I was just
Of the
about
CRA?
to say
Okay.
that. Director Galvin's correct. I mean, it depends on the size of the CRA. I mean, you do have a fairly large CRA, probably geographically one of the largest or the largest in the state. Budget-wise, certainly not like the Omni CRA or the Southeast Overtown Park West CRA's budgets are far in excess, probably 10 times what your budget is. But we did not do a survey. I think, you know, Ms. Kemo is very modest in saying I will accept what I was making as the director plus the $20,000 a year that the manager was getting. I mean, and you certainly can all, at any point in time, you know, review, re-review, increase, decrease. Well, not decrease, I think. I think once you have a contract, you have a contract, but you could always modify it. I mean, we're starting out here, I think, in new territory with an executive director that's separate from the city manager for the first time in a long time. And again, and I'm not the policy person here. You are the policy makers. This is what's being
Then I
presented
have a question
to
after
you.
you then.
Not a question. I was gonna make a statement, and you know, we are celebrating Women History Month, International Women. That's mean we don't want people to go out there and when you compare men versus women to say, and we underpay our CRA executive director. If he was a man, he would be different. I gotta say, make the statement. From my understanding, I thought the executive director was gonna get whatever she received on her salary plus the 45,000. That's mean the money from the CRA manager and the deputy city manager. But after I talked to her, she said no, she's comfortable with that, and she wanna. And if in the future there is something that can be done, we will have that done. But she's comfortable with that. That's mean it's not based on our statement. That's mean. We need to understand it's the month of March, and we have to be good to women.
In my last
Yes,
question,
Vice
yes, my last question was the 750. You said there was a difference.
The way the paid time off, the sick leave, and is calculated is different than what you have in your city manager's contract, but it comes from another municipal government contract that was for the Homestead CRA's executive director.
Okay.
And that's the way it was being calculated in that contract. And that was something that Ms. Kemo felt more comfortable with than the way it was in the city manager's contract.
So just, Vice Chair, just, if at my position, it's calculated at 1.69 a week for the sick time, and I would feel a little bit more comfortable having a little bit more than at the 3 hours a week, and I've capped it actually to, it won't go any higher, but, you know, as I get older, and as things happen, I feel it necessary for me to have some reserve in sick and vacation.
You want to say
And that
your
was
age?
really, no, I don't want to say my age.
Vice, you,
So
Yeah,
that was,
you done?
I'm done.
Councilwoman?
No, thank you so much for being considerate, like most women are, and for considering, you know, taking a lower pay. You know, I pray that the next time around we can reconsider and give you a higher pay. But thank you so much for the services that you've done. Thank you for the direction that you've taken with the CRA. I'm going to sound like Board Member Galvin to say I actually served so many years on the advisory board. I understand. You know, I got in right in when we were making the change, when we decided that, you know, let's cross it over to the city manager, and I just love the direction that the CRA has gone. The city is on the map. We're the fastest growing city. So again, thank you for your leadership, and I look forward to supporting this.
Councilman? Yes.
Yeah, so I wholeheartedly am very happy that you're going to be our director, permanent. But I went back and looked at some other contracts, like our manager and attorney, and their pension is 10% contribution, and this is 15%. So I'm wondering why we went with 15. I don't think the other directors don't really have that, so
that's fine.
technically on a $165,000 contract, it is another $8,250. So I don't know if anybody else in the city is getting a 15% contribution there.
The only reason I think this one was set a little higher, because the salary is probably lower than what your city manager and your city attorney's salaries are. But, I mean, whatever you all negotiate and is acceptable to the board and Ms. Camo is what'll go into the contract.
Well, I have a, if, after she's done.
I don't know, I just think it's high, it's something I really don't want to start as a precedent for other directors. Well, this one's, this one's getting it, because everybody seems to be at a 10%.
Ms.
Also-
Camo's indicated that's fine if that's the
Okay,
will
I
of the
then I
board.
won't-
We
No,
haven't
no, well,
decided yet.
No,
They
I
may
just said
not
if
want- they
that's
might
the
wanna
will
do
of the
that.
board.
And then just the other contracts, I don't know how the sick leave compares to other directors, because usually, like with the manager, the attorney, everybody is like, they all get the same type of sick pay and vacation time, so I'm just pointing it out, so it is different. That's my only comment.
The
Can I-
paycheck are 215,000 plus
That's
750 for car allowance and a lot of things.
No, I mean, I'm just pointing it out, because it is high, and I don't want to start a precedent with other directors. I'd rather pay a little more, maybe, and, the other question is,
What do you rather pay what?
Scott,
I'd rather pay more salary and not start with higher pensions, because, we had some high pensions in
Okay,
the past, and our city is struggling because of that, so we have lowered our pensions. So we don't need to go back and start
I see.
going higher and higher.
That's when the 15% is $8,000 a year?
Well,
More?
165, 5%, which is what we're doing, an extra 5% is
Five.
8,250,
Every year?
yeah.
okay, I have a,
That's when you put, okay,
well,
I'd rather pay another 10,000 and not.
Okay.
in
no,
salary
well-
and don't pay the pension. I understand that.
can I make a,
Yes.
a friendly amendment? So the city employees, the city manager, they are 10. So I don't, would you accept if we say $200,000 salary and then 10%, since she doesn't want to pay, the extra 5 in that, would that be okay?
No,
Mhm.
the proposal is better to add 10,000 to the salary and still keep it at
Add
10%.
10 to the salary and then keep it at 10.
Well,
Because in the negotiation,
I
we're
know.
gonna work on the pension because,
Yeah,
that's one
no,
of the-
but that's a separate entity, and I think, if we are sitting here
We
going,
can always give a raise after a year, we've got it.
well, let's negotiate then, because, since we're doing it now, it may be, okay, so if 160, so 175, so maybe 190, would that be
Keep
off
in
with the
mind, we have a-
10?
I was gonna bring up the fact that we have a 2-year contract instead of 1 year. So if for some reason we.
What do you mean
The other-
instead of 1 year, you said?
Well,
The-
we-
the
we're-
manager
we're-
choose
We're
to.
signing a 2-year contract, so if we decide we wanna go in a different direction, we are then obligated for the 90 days and another 20 weeks at that higher salary. We can always.
Okay, that's what
Well-
we've been giving to every man that
Yes.
we hire as manager, as city
Everybody.
attorney. Okay, don't change it on a woman.
I,
No,
um,
not the term, not the
Make-
length.
Not the term.
Oh.
So can somebody entertain, go ahead, Mr. Galvin, Commissioner Galvin. No, go. No, I did not
Or you
see.
don't just take a contract and just say, okay, yeah, I mean,
No, we're
No,
not, we're
she-
not, we're negotiating, no, I don't want to say we're gonna
No, this is probably
Go
that.
ahead, I think Commissioner Galvin has a.
No, I honestly,
No.
nothing.
Oh, okay.
What you
I
okay?
have one other question though, just.
Go ahead, Finn.
To Rasha through the mayor. So now that you are, going to be the full-time executive director, are we gonna have to hire another person to, since you were doing the work and we had, a director, now you're gonna be doing 2 people's jobs? Or are we gonna have to go out and hire another employee?
No, actually, what I have done is Ms. Gail McDonald, who is our grants coordinator, she has actually stepped up and taken on some of my
She
previous
said she
responsibilities.
resigned. That's not what she said?
I-
Oh, no, I thought that's what you said.
So she is the operations and programs manager, so she will be supervising, for instance, the housing program, the restaurant boot camp, all the programs, everything that I was doing, and I've delegated to the other staff those items. What I will need to hire, however, eventually will be a Creole-speaking grants specialist, a temporary person, a contracted temp person, because I am actually the only Creole-speaking person in the CRA office. and I won't be able to help our Creole-speaking business owners anymore like I used to. So that will be the position that we're going to be
But let
filling.
the, understand
But
that you're
I've
still
distributed-
paying the city 358,000. If you want, you could use that money and hire people to do those jobs.
Yes,
Yeah,
I mean,
in a way.
in a way, but
Yeah.
at this time.
You're
we're
saving
working
money
with-
by
yes.
having the city paying the stipends instead of hiring different people. That's mean your salary
So
cap
are we
is
giving our
lower.
staff any kind of increased salary because of the increased job
Our
load?
staff-
There's no job load.
Can I get, okay, I
I
got
don't-
something to say now. Larry, Mr. Spring was collecting a salary to sort of be the figurehead of the
Yes.
CRA.
Yeah.
He's no longer the figurehead. You're now the actual head.
Yeah.
So if you transfer that money to her,
And
problem
the-
solved, she's making the
Yeah.
money,
Done.
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 That's what
Right,
I
and
wanna-
we're overcomplicating
Yeah.
this to me.
That's what I want to be.
And nothing we do about a contract or anything like that is binding for what we do for the next person. Precedent, this city has
You gave
done
them a car.
everything
You
you
gave
can
Larry
come
a
up
car.
with in every way you can think of. So just because we say this is the new precedent in 2020 doesn't mean in 3 years, they're not gonna just do what
Yeah.
the hell they wanna do anyway.
And
Okay.
then I won't be up here.
Yeah, so I'm
Are you
also in
done?
agreement.
So let's just decide a nice, I mean, my recommendation is we keep the 10% pension and we do a higher.
I
Okay.
agree with that.
Okay.
It's too, and I have my proposal.
I want to say that I disagree with that. Again, she's, the interim executive director has foregone salary, has foregone this. Like the board member Galvin said, is every executive director will be different, or we can change it or whatever. So I would like to state that it stays as is, because she's made sacrifices. She's cut on almost
But
half
we're
on
paying more to
expenses.
cover- She'll make more. If we raise her, if we give her a bigger salary right now and cut the pension, she'll still be making more than she asked for right now.
I'm okay with approving this as is.
And okay, I understand what do you think?
Yeah, you got to say something.
Will you agree with the salary increase versus keep it
Yes,
at 10%?
Yes, sir.
Okay.
What everybody's getting 10% in the city, Mr. 10% contribution,
As far as I know, is
Yeah.
right? Ms. Morgan?
Personnel, is it? Yes. Okay.
Okay.
Thank you. Okay.
Except the elected officials, right?
and
Oh,
the-
okay.
and the CRA attorney.
And the city attorney, okay. That's okay.
That's
Gotta
been
be counted in.
the motion is to raise the salary at $175,000.
No, my
And keep it
motion
at
was a little bit
10%?
more. What he said, that's not fair because,
So
That's okay. I'm
Okay,
okay
to
with
leave it at 15.
No,
Okay.
No,
let's
no.
do
She
I don't-
10.
wants the
You want to
10.
do 190?
Yes, I'm fine with 190.
no, I'm not fine with that. I'm sorry.
But she said
She's okay with it.
No, we're not going to do
185,
that.
185.
Look, if we're not, this is just my opinion, and obviously we're all going to vote on it. If we're not accepting what, obviously she was
offer?
comfortable with, then you know what? Let's not accept it. Let's give her what the previous city managers had, with the higher pay, with the pension
no,
where you're
no.
comfortable with.
That's not where we are. At, 'cause-
It's,
That's
okay.
my voice.
Okay.
Okay.
Listen, and Madam CR Executive Director,
I mean, she's going to obviously not disagree with us.
No,
guys,
that's-
So we need to
No.
make the right choice.
I'm talking to, okay.
Yes, sir.
Okay. You want 15%, right? The 15% represent about between 8 and 10,000 a year, right? After 2 years, do we have to contribute to your pension?
No, we would reduce it, and again, it's because I was starting at a lower
oh,
rate.
wait a minute. Oh, okay. I see.
So it evens out the same way as the councilwoman suggests.
Okay.
But I don't
So it's up to
understand.
So
Explain,
agree.
you just don't. You would prefer the 15% and keep the salary? Which one will you prefer?
That's a hard choice.
You get it? Which one will you
What
prefer?
what you have in front of you is what I was comfortable with,
Okay,
Um,
okay, thank you very much.
so.
Can I have a motion
not
on
comfortable with it.
item number 5?
So moved.
Second.
Can I just say my vote of no is because of my previous statement on the item. I do feel that she should get a little bit more, despite her you know.
Yeah, but
asking
you
for
didn't
that.
make the motion.
I did.
What is your motion?
No, I was trying to be with Councilwoman Commissioner Keys.
Can you withdraw
we-
your motion, Councilwoman?
Can we do, okay, can we do the
Mary
one
Estime?
seventy-five
Sure,
and the 15? Is that, I'll be,
Huh?
the 175 and the 15. I
Okay.
think-
You
No?
withdraw your motion? No,
What
wait.
would-
I,
Do
I want
185
to understand
and
what
10.
why I'm withdrawing
Okay.
my motion.
Well, they've got to vote, so.
I agree with her. Okay, what were you saying? You withdrawing your motion?
No, I haven't withdrawn my motion, and I'm trying to understand what the amendment is or what we are.
I
So
was
you can come with an
comfortable-
amendment to increase the salary.
That's what I was trying. So which would you prefer, the salary or
We
the?
said that, she
That's
said.
fine.
You can't ask to put her in a really bad spot.
Exactly.
That's true, that's true. You're right, you're right, you're
Councilwoman,
right.
can you
Commissioner.
withdraw your motion?
Yeah, withdraw.
Mr. Chair, with all due respect, like it was just mentioned, this is really uncomfortable to ask her what she wants or whatever. Obviously, what she would want and what I'm in agreement with, based on her work that she's done for so many years, what she's presented. She has lowered her salary, she has lowered expenses. This is, it is an odd spot to ask her, what do you want, what do you want? So, in my judgment, the right thing to do with someone that had lowered her salary, lower her expense, is to give her as she want, as presented. So I am uncomfortable withdrawing my motion on that. So if we disagree, then, if this
But
isn't.
you
Councilwoman,
okay,
you
do
don't,
you
do you
understand
understand
what
that
we're trying to do?
we're gonna
We're trying to
increase
do
the
more.
salary and still give her 15%? You don't
Oh,
understand?
I didn't understand that. Oh, well, let's, tell me what
Now
you're
I'm
trying
You
to
lost.
wanna
because
do one
I wanted to
seventy-five?
do what, Commissioner, give her I think we're at 190 or 180?
185.
185.
And 10.
And
I thought
then,
it was 190.
Was it? I don't mind 190. Okay.
I'll do 190. I'll withdraw my motion if we can do 190, sure.
It's Councilwoman Keys.
Why don't we do,
I got
Okay,
it.
wait,
185
wait.
and 12%.
No,
Yes.
listen.
185 and 12%.
this is crazy, this is just throwing numbers away. This is-
Well, no.
Yeah, that's,
We're trying to
You could-
please.
we
Yes,
could- we
please.
could
Okay,
do-
okay.
We could do 175 and then 190 on the second year?
The percentage, and
Okay.
this is what we do.
I
It's,
don't-
okay, let's
you-
me make
you
a
do what you
motion.
want.
Let's me make a motion.
well, Councilwoman Keys, if
I-
we
We
do-
have a motion.
I will withdraw my motion.
keep it,
just-
keep the motion, then that's fine, then
the
I'm
motion.
good. Go ahead, Mr. Mayor. Whichever one I'll vote for. She gave up and I give up, so we good. We
What
even.
is your motion, Councilwoman
I-
Estime? We need to relax.
will-
We're not fighting. We are on the same
trying,
page.
but-
It's like you think we don't want to pay her, and you're the one that want to pay her. That's not what we are discussing.
I
We're on
will
the
with-
same
I-
page.
I will withdraw my motion to hear what you have to say, Mr. Chair. Go
No,
ahead.
you can go ahead now. We okay. What is your motion? Repeat it.
My motion is to pass it as is.
Okay. And Councilman Scott second that.
Call the vote?
Okay. It's like you think we are not on the same page. We are discussing the same thing. We okay with
Open
that?
to the public, actually.
We did that already.
We did?
Call the
Okay.
vote?
No.
Okay. Agenda item number 5 is open to the public. Mr. McDermott,
Then
That's
what's
it.
up?
You just
you're
gonna
gonna
make
say
it-
you agree with that.
Oh.
That's what
But
you're
he
gonna
has the right
say.
to
I'm relaxing with.
He already approved that.
That's all. You already approved it. Yesterday.
I'll make it quick.
Thank you very much.
840 North 127th Street, so we'll make it quick. It was approved unanimously last night,
Okay.
and enthusiastically. And as Mary mentioned, those of us who have been around for a little while get to understand some history, as Councilman Galvin always speaks about. And so we were there when Rasha was part of the team that really saved our CRA.
When she was part-time.
When she was part-time,
That's
exactly. Her, together with our interim city manager and our Mr. Zelkowitz, our attorney, CRA attorney, she was part of that team that really saved our CRA from being disbanded and allowed us to continue on and do the wonderful things that our CRA is currently and going to be doing. And we can't say enough about Rasha and the talent that she brings, the energy she brings, and the things that she's accomplished so far. So, thank you.
Thank you very much.
Vote, call the vote.
Public hearing is still open.
Good evening. My name is Jason James. I am a resident, and I'm also part of the DAPAC Downtown Action Planning and Advisory Committee.
Your address, please.
1560 Northwest 129th Street, Northwest. Oh wait, I already said that. North Miami, Florida 331.
Yes, what's the address again?
Say it again. I saw my councilman.
Can you say the address again?
1560 Northwest.
No.
You sure?
Northwest. Yes, I am.
Okay.
129th Street, Councilman Simi. Thank you.
Yes, sir.
I just wanted to second what Mike said. As a resident and somebody who's personally invested in trying to see things happen in North Miami, especially in the downtown area. I've seen the last several years of Rasha putting in the effort that we may not see others put as much, but I'm really proud to see that the councilman and other I guess folks in the city recognize her talent and the asset that she is to CRA. So. I just wanted also to really express how excited I am to see, this 9-acre downtown development. I mean, all this stuff I think that she helped contribute to, and we like to see this stuff keep going and moving forward as the years go on. So I just wanted to voice my positive experiences and support for this appointment. So thank you.
Thank you very much. Madam Clerk. Public hearing is now closed, and now let's move with the motion, the second. Madam Clerk?
The motion is.
Yeah, Councilwoman, yeah.
I have a motion made by Board Member Estimate Irvin to approve Agenda Item 5. The motion was seconded by Board Member Galvin. All in favor?
Aye.
All opposed? Item passes with a 5-0 vote.
Move to adjourn.
No,
Second.
No, excuse me, I said I wanted to have I need a 2-minute request, we don't have to have a discussion, but I
I
would.
didn't know.
I
Okay, go ahead.
withdraw my motion to adjourn.
Thank you, Director.
Clock is running on this 2 minutes.
Okay, stop talking. I would like to get a report on we approved $500,000 to improve the Red Garden on an emergency basis. I don't know what we were allowed to approve individually, or we just gave carte blanche, but I would like a report of what has been spent on the Red Garden, and I'd like it itemized. I'd like to see if it looks like there may be some items that should really be city expenses, and I think on the Red Garden Super Bowl events going on over Super Bowl, we had about 4 days. I think some of those expenses that the city incurred might have been appropriate CRA expenses. So I would like an accounting of what the CRA has spent towards the $500,000. And I think there's some stuff in there that might not be appropriate for CRA, but I want to make sure we don't get in trouble. Thank you.
Just to add to it, and I'm going to take 30 seconds. I've put in a public request record a couple weeks ago, so I don't know if I did it through the right channel. So I guess maybe through now you, the CRA. Similarly, what she asked for, but just in itemized, detailed, I guess it's from the city, because I did ask the city as well as the police department, but I guess the police department will be part of the city. So I would like to get that, and I haven't gotten it. It's been 3 weeks, so thank you.
Move to adjourn.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
All opposed?
Now you, Madam.
Adjourned, 6:48 p.m.